Thank you, everyone, for joining. Welcome to TSI's Tech on Deck. I am Bo DiMuccio, Distinguished Vice President of Professional Services Research and Advisory at TSIA. Today's conversation is focused on a challenge that we see across services organizations of every size. It's margin leak that begins after the deal is signed and quietly compounds throughout the delivery. So we're going to explore what changes when services organizations get connected with AI-powered quoting directly to delivery execution, and why this is becoming a new standard for high-growth services teams. And I'm delighted today because I'm joined by two leaders who work directly at the intersection of services pricing and services execution and operational systems. So today I have with me Stavan Kataporkor, who's the co-founder and CEO of Provus, which is an AI-powered services quoting platform that's built specifically for complex people-based businesses. And Vikas Nehru, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Cantata, a professional services automation platform that's used by services organizations all over the world to plan, staff, and deliver work more effectively. So welcome, Stavan and Vikas. Great to have you both.
Thank you so much. Pleasure, Bo and Vikas, to be there with you. So just as a quick introduction, my name is Tavan. I'm, again, as Bo mentioned, I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Provus. My background is I spent 25 plus years in the services industry, and that's where I'm bringing all those nuggets of information and nuggets of knowledge in terms of building Provus and what we're trying to do for our customers. So a pleasure, Vikas.
Excited to be here. Thank you, Bo. Stavan, huge fan of TSIA and attended very, very regularly. I'm a CTO at Cantata, but I've been in the customer experience, customer space, service industry for the last 15, 20 years. And I'm excited to be talking about what Provus and Cantata are building together.
Awesome. Well, again, it's a super great pleasure to have you with us. And I tell you, we only have 25 minutes or so we're just going to jump in, guys, and try to cover as much ground as we possibly can. So here's my first question. So winning deals while avoiding margin erosion is certainly the main motivation for just about every services organization, but margin erosion and best foot forward on sales often falters even before a deal is signed. So why do you think services organizations have historically struggled so much in that quote to delivery handover? What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, a great question. So let me start off. I think now is, again, everybody says that now is the best time, but again, now is seriously a time where services organizations are under tremendous pressure, right? And if you look at it, pressure of AI, right? Will AI replace people? Customers demanding more to be done with AI and all those kind of things. So that puts another inherent pressure on margins. People are expecting value-based pricing. No longer the simple time and material is anymore of vogue. Basically, people are expecting value for money, what they are paying, and ROIs and all the things. So service organizations are going through tremendous pain. But what is their biggest pain point today? Today, their biggest pain point is there are disconnected systems. They may have a great quoting system which does quoting, and they may have a great delivery management system which does delivery. But those two systems, those two organizations, sales and delivery, do not talk to each other. Sales is trying to win business without any historical data or perspective of what is happening in the organization. Delivery basically is frustrated that sales is trying to bring in and win deals which they have no idea and where to start and what to do, right? That, I believe, is the biggest challenge of margin erosion, because the expectation of what has to be delivered as margin is very different than what is sold versus what is delivered. And that's the whole point of our two organizations coming together, of what is sold versus delivered, right? And how do you bridge that gap, right? So that's my 2 cents on this topic, Vikas.
Because you're on mute.
Mute.
Sorry. So yeah, thank you, Stavan. We hear this loud and clear from our customers as well. There's a lot of pressure on the services industry. Margin obviously is the key metric. But the underlying cause why margin is under pressure is changing customer expectations around value, around outcomes, around fixed bids, and making sure that you deliver value. So the customer expectation is changing. And when you look at the reality of projects, they're very unpredictable. Things can, go wrong. Things can change. Expectations change. But in the sales cycle, our customers are telling us they're sitting on a wealth of data. Here's my 1,000 projects that I've completed over the last 5 years. How do I leverage the PSA data and use it upfront in my pitch, in my cycle, such that upstream, I am making sure that the deals that I'm winning are based on credibility of me actually having delivered these projects successfully for the same customer, as well as because I've delivered these projects so many times, I know upfront, or I'm arming the sales team with all the gotchas, all the nuances, so that they make sure that they craft a profitable project up front as opposed to dealing with it downstream, right? So uh, that again is the value of why Provus and Cantata together make sense across the life cycle.
We've been researching professional services effectiveness and maturity for over 2 decades. And we're also putting a lot of work into right now understanding how PS organizations are transforming and what's keeping them from effective transformation. And the number one thing that's coming across on that is disconnected systems, bad data, poorly connected data. So we're in violent agreement there. So I'm curious, I want to ask both of you, when you look across your customer bases, right, what signals tell you without any doubt that a service organization is operating in a too disconnected fashion? What are the signals and signs that tell you that that's the problem?
So when my sales teams, my PS teams talk to our customers, right? And I think the first question they ask is, so how are you connected? Does your quoting need to be connected to your backend PSA? And if the answer, and in most cases, unfortunately, the answer is overwhelming, no, that's not really required because we have a manual way of doing it and we know how to connect. We know then there is a problem, right? Because definitely when sales is not having visibility in terms of capacity, in terms of skill mix, in terms of, as Vikas said, what happened, what programs failed, what programs work. And they're just working on templates, which really somebody created at some stage and hoping that this will work. It is a spray and pray approach, right? And that's where the problem starts, right? So definitely, I think one of the first coachings which we do to our customers is how do you create a connected system? Because unless you created a connected systems, you're not going to see the value of what Provus can bring because we can do all kind of great work. But if that great work is not on the basis of previous work already been done in the organizations, all the wealth of data and knowledge which is there, if you can't leverage that, if Provus cannot leverage that, then I think it's really not going to be, the customer is not going to see the ROI, what they would expect from putting Provus in place in their systems.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to that, I would say that the good news is that many forward-thinking customers are already working on aspects of this. We talk to customers all the time that are taking professional services data upfront in their cycle, whether they do it through APIs, custom integration. So the demand is already out there and is being felt by customers who are scrambling to fix that pain that they're dealing with today. And, trying all kinds of approaches, APIs, agents, and so on and so forth. And we can proactively come together. We are proactively coming together to solve that, pain more holistically. The symptoms are, if you examine the win rates in sales, or you examine the deviations from the original SOW to when it's delivered, right? All of that tells us that the professional services data isn't being effectively leveraged upfront in the sales cycle. And it's obviously better to set the right expectations upfront as opposed to dealing with it downstream with client satisfaction, customer satisfaction. So it's the good news and the good news here together.
And in an era where customer value and customer time to value are so critical, these symptoms are extremely problematic for the providers, for the customers, all the way across the value chain. So we've got a tech on deck conversation going on. It's happening in 2026. We have to talk about AI, and it's becoming table stakes, obviously. But we know that adoption across the life cycle of professional services and other services is lumpy. So where do you actually see AI being used and actually delivering practical value today versus just adding complexity and being able to check the box, hey, we've got AI implemented here. So Stavan, let me start with you and ask you kind of where are you actually seeing AI provide value today?
Sure. So it's a very interesting, right? We are actually selling to service organizations who are either implementing AI or who are using AI, right? And candidly speaking, some of them are skeptical because is this AI for just some proof of concept or is it AI for reality, right? And again, I think as Vikas alluded to in terms of the data, in terms of the context, because AI in especially the fields which we work in, AI has to have the context because if the AI does not have context, just automating the process, automating a quoting process or automating a project management process on the PSA part of it is really not going to really solve or really give any credible value for the organizations, right? So that's where AI in the context, which is rooted in really the context of what the work is, right? Because if you're doing a project for a financial industry in the South American geography, that context is very important in terms of giving insights in terms of how a code can be different, right? Rather than just giving a context, okay, you have done thousands of projects over there, right? So that getting into that detailed analysis is very important, and that's the thing which we have built from really building that AI layer, the agentic layer, which is more context specific, right? What we believe in that is first and foremost, it will eliminate waste, right? Because there is so much time spent in doing back and forth. That's something which gets wasted. It does increase the speed because today, in the context of what services organizations are being faced with, is customers expect quick responses. Customers are expecting like the chat GPT responses, right? They are expecting the vendors to come back and give responses immediately. So that really helps them in increasing speed. But more importantly, it improves the pricing accuracy is what our endeavor is, because I think now you are eliminating really questions in terms of how did you come up with the code and all that, and you really have data which is behind it, working on it, and then really alternatives for alternative options, right? Given the context of all this previous data, now you can present sales guys with different options which they can now take back to the customer and have a meaningful discussion rather than putting a thumb in the air and hoping that it works, right? So that's where which we see, and that's where we see most of our customers adopting AI because of those, how do I say, nuggets of information or nuggets of knowledge which we are able to provide to them.
Vikas, how about you?
Right, Steven. Thank you, Bo. So, Bo, I often challenge myself to have an hour-long conversation with a customer without using the word AI or agents anywhere in that conversation. And actually, it is actually an interesting exercise to try because you're focusing on the value and the pain as opposed to technology. Even though I'm a CTO and I'm as excited about AI and agents as anybody else. So it's real. Uh, the first thing that I wanted to mention here is that our customers come in different shapes and sizes, large enterprises, mid-market,
Sure.
small companies, right? And they have varying degrees of scale within the organization, as well as different appetites for investing their own time in building something, right? So what we've done really well together is that we've crafted a solution that caters to all stakeholders. If you're a hands-on enterprise that you've been playing around with agentic AI and so on, you can work with our platform together. If you are AI agnostic and just want a solution that does solve the problem end to end, and you don't have to talk about AI, we're there for you, right? So it's a solution that's designed to cater to everybody. But I wanted to give you a specific example of where we think we are different. And Steven touched on it, the context, but let me make that real with an example. you're going into a sales opportunity and you say, hey, well, this opportunity needs Salesforce integration as a skill. Let's just say that. And so you go into your agent and ask for, find me the best resource that can talk to the Salesforce integration. And that's where the traditional agentic AI stops, at that layer. But what we're talking about is building a solution that is contextual, that has all the relationships mapped out. So let me play that scenario again with a different question. Find me the best salesperson, find me the best consultant with Salesforce skills who has worked on projects similar to the prospect that I'm talking to, who has received excellent feedback in the last 6 months on the projects, who delivered projects greater than $1 million in revenue, is located in Texas, and so on, right? So there's a relationship, a contextual relationship. And if you don't build that context to power your answers, you only get superficial answers. So we're proud together that we're building that deep context to power deeper questions that can be more meaningful or relevant or personalized for the opportunity at hand.
And I love how the answers build off of one another. It's almost as if we've prepared for this conversation. The interesting thing about AI investments or any investments that a services organization is going to make is that those bring trade-offs with them. You can deny the trade-offs, but that doesn't make them go away. And you've both talked about how, in the real world, services leaders are constantly making these sorts of trade-offs between margin, delivery timelines, customer satisfaction. So I'm really, and I focus on this kind of thing quite a bit, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. Walk us through how you guys are working together, Cantata and Provus. How your working together helps the services organization to successfully navigate these trade-offs?
Maybe I can.
So, yeah, go ahead, Vikas, please. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So real life is a trade-off, right? There's no perfection. It's not black and white. We think about, so margin, of course, or budget, of course, is the key metric. And we're all focused on making sure that margins get better and better. But when you look at the whole life cycle of a customer, you're looking at customer satisfaction as a dimension, cost as a dimension, the revenue that you generate over the life cycle as a dimension. And in some industries, compliance, what rules and regulations we have to follow, right? So our service leaders are actually dealing with competing metrics. And they're competing in the sense that I could put my head of engineering on every project, but is that feasible? It's going to come at a cost. It'll deliver high customer satisfaction, but what about the rest of the things that won't get that, right? So you're always looking for that balance. And our algorithms are designed to create that real life trade-off balance between the right resources, the right cost, the right timeline. And we're able to project this upfront in the cycle such that the customer themselves, the choices are available to the customer, and they can, together, the services team and the customer can make that trade-off effectively. That makes sense for them.
Brilliant.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Vikas in terms of, I think in a typical delivery of a project, customer satisfaction ultimately is something which is utmostly important for everybody. But again, at the same time, with all these other competing stuff, internal priorities for margin and all those things kind of cause this hassle for these delivery folks, right? So in any way that we can, in terms of making sure that we give the sales leadership upfront view of capacity, what is the role mix available, what kind of projects work or don't work, so that right from the start, even with, and when we started with the first question, even before a deal is won, the customer is aware of the risks involved. The sales guys are also not overselling on their part in terms of what this project involves. That really helps everybody, right? That puts everybody at ease. uh, Real life things happen, right? Situations are going to happen, some black swan events are going to happen, but that then everybody is prepared for it, rather than completely complete chaos which we see in at places where, I think because they are disconnected systems, people don't know left or right what is happening, right? And that's something which we're trying to help.
So we've got about 5 minutes left. I had a couple more questions. I think we can get through all the questions I had queued up for you guys. So let's go ahead and give that a try. I want to get very practical for the moment. And let's bring it to life for the listeners who are very hungry for practical guidance from you. So, what exactly changes the moment a quote becomes a ready to run project instead of a document that has to now then be reinterpreted and re-swizzled and re-everything? So, what are the practical things that change?
Yep.
Yeah.
So let me take a first shot at it. So what happens is when we have Provus and Cantata working together, the delivery now starts getting really upfront visibility in terms of quotes which are there in the pipe. What is going to win? So they can start planning way ahead. They can start basically making all the necessary or whatever necessary steps that needed to be taken to basically deliver the project. On the other side, the sales folks are now not really worried about delivery failing because and having a bad customer or a customer feeling unhappy about the delivery because now they are in alignment with delivery. They have upfront visibility of. Let's take an example, right? A practical example. If historically a project has taken 5 months to deliver. There is no point in trying to basically put a project plan in front of a customer saying we will deliver it in 3 months, right? No, because you're going to fail, right? You're going to fail. So now if you start putting the right data and the right information for the customers and the sales guys have that information nuggets over there, it just makes their life also easy. It's not like the sales is out there trying to basically screw delivery, right? They really want this to work together and be successful together, right? So that's really in simple terms, practically, how both systems coming together start helping the organization.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think I want to emphasize that leveraging professional services data or your projects delivered over the last 10 years upfront is the critical game changer here. A case study should not be a PDF. It should not be marketing collateral. A case study should be your real professional services data with the right outcomes at the right budget, and verifiable results. So that's what we're striving for. Showcasing your stars upfront in the sales cycle, all the consultants that are working in the organization, and finding the best resources that would be genuinely of great fit for the project. So those are the things that help us leverage the value of services data upfront in the sales cycle. The other thing that is really critical is the handoff. You often hear, the services team, day one of the project starts from ground zero and spend the next 15 days, 20 days finding out what the expectations were, what the client wants, and so on. There's enough wealth of information in the sales cycle, whether it's the SOW, whether it's the CPQ, the proposal, all of that should feed into creating a template for the project to start ahead of the curve as opposed behind the curve, right? So that's what we're striving for.
It's critical. The sales delivery interlock is a key factor in effectiveness for company and customer value. Not nearly enough organizations can say, yes, we have a truly high quality, deep in our workflows and our processes and our systems and tools, a deep sales and services interlock. So I'm personally very excited about this partnership. Just we got about a minute left, so 10 seconds, 15 seconds each. What's next for this partnership?
I think we just want to make more and more customers successful, right? Leveraging both of us together. That's really what we intend from out of this partnership.
Yeah, look, the leveraging data context has been an idea for a long time. We're bringing it together in the services and the CPQ world, and happy to share our case studies, stories, talk to you more. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, to me, it's been a whirlwind. It's been a quick conversation, but it does reinforce something that I see very clearly. margin leakage is not a sales or a pricing problem or a services or delivery problem. It's both the problems. It's a life cycle problem.
Yeah.
So I think we've seen a lot of practical instances and examples of how that can be effectively ameliorated and solved. And so I want to thank you, Stavan and Vikas, for sharing your perspectives on what changes when estimation and execution truly are connected. We value the partnership with you guys, and I know that our members and viewers get a heck of a lot of value out of it too. So I want to thank you and everyone who joined us, and we look forward to continuing the conversation in future Tech on Deck sessions. Thanks a lot. Take care.